This meeting is now being recorded.
Okay, now can I just hit that or what?
Yeah, just hit the X.
Okay. Anyway, so as I was speaking, Harold Leeming, Department of Public Licensure, which is the Office of Public Safety and Inspections. My cell phone number is 617-908-2933. If it's a issue that would involve your district state building inspector, I will refer you to them. But if it's a general question on buildings, building inspector checklist, or anything like that, I'd be glad to help you any way I can. So we're going to start. Okay, this is a funny story, but a true story. Some things, as we all know, are not always what they appear to be. This right here is a eye chart, and little did I know, I was doing an inspection out in Springfield at Bay State Medical, and I didn't realize I saw so many eye charts. I said, "Wow, they're all the same." So I took a picture of one, and I was dealing with a lady who was she was in charge of the facility, and we were going through it. She seemed awfully nervous. So whenever I see someone nervous, I try to joke around a little bit and get them loosened up. So I told her, I says, to be a state building inspector, you have to have incredible eyesight. So I saw an eye chart, probably about 150 to 200 feet away in a hallway. And I told her, I said, "Ma'am, see that eye chart over there? Go down all the way down there, so I could read everything on that eye chart. Meanwhile, I have it on my phone." So she walked over, and she says, "Do line 4." And I said, FELOPZD. She says, "That's incredible." She says, do the very bottom line. I says, "Okay, PEZOLC," and I made it look like I was having a hard time. FTD. All they had is my phone, and I expanded a letter. So she thought that was amazing, but the only problem is I never told her, that I was actually messing around with her. So somewhere in Western Mass right now, there's someone who thinks that state building inspectors have incredible eyesight. That's my little joke for the day. But you got to look at things more than once sometimes, because they're not always what they appear to be, and that's what we're trained for, to see what we're looking at and what you're looking at. And sometimes, believe it or not, we're not against anybody at the facilities department. We're on your side, and I want to make a successful inspection, and I want to make sure we have a safe building, and I want you to look good, when we do inspections. So this is the whole idea of this seminar. Okay, what is the violation? Again, things are not as they appear, and if you don't mind, just use the public chat if you don't mind. Anyone? We need the Jeopardy music. There you go. You get some there. Okay, Thomas Therian, absolutely right. And I know where you are, Tom. I know you. Tom's a friend of mine. Excellent, excellent. In fact, I'm not going to say where it is, but Tom is extremely familiar with this. What happened was they were having an issue with glass being broken by the students. And what happened was they thought they were doing the right thing by saying, well, we'll just put plexiglass because it won't be broken. The only problem with that is that the whole idea of the breakable glass, the crackled glass, is to be able to get at the fire extinguisher. And all they really ended up doing was locking up their fire extinguisher. It was solved. It was an honest mistake. I almost missed it. I just said, wow, it looks like nice shiny glass. And I touched it, and it was so flexible. So, again, we're going to look at things that maybe you're not thinking of, and, maybe you'll show me something that I'm not thinking of. It's definitely a group effort, and it's a team effort. Good job, Tom. Okay, 780 CMR, which is the building code everybody knows, Section 302 is going to give you, what is our use group? And this right here, use group will be business use. But in order to do our inspection, I need to know what the use group would be, because as we go business, we go education, we go, institutional or whatever, we all have different needs and different regulations. So it's very important for me to know the use group, and I try to tell you what the use group is. And if you look on your certificate, at least the ones I do, I make sure it has the use group on there so you can look into the building code also and see what's required. Another thing, this right here is a picture out of New York City. My son goes to school out there, and took a picture of it. Anyway, what is the building construction type? I need to know, how is this building built? Why was it built? What was the intention of the use? The means of egress, the special suppression systems, the special fire alarm systems, smoke alarm systems. I need to know that. That's why in Section 602, it's going to tell you what type of building this is. And this, by the way, is a Type 1A building. And that's the same thing with hospitals, prisons, and jails. The question is, can you have a mixed use group in one building? And yes, you can. You have multiple use groups, but we always go by the most stringent use group. And that was Andrew Ladonis. I apologize. I'm bad with names. I have a hard time doing my wife's name. Okay, excellent question, by the way, Andrew. Okay, 780 CMR, again, the building code. Now, everybody understands that, at least everybody should understand, and by the time you're done with this, you'll understand, anything starts with a 10 is always means of egress. That's how we're getting out of the building. That's where our occupant loads. You see an occupant load and stuff like that. It's not how many people can fit in the building. It's how many people can get out of the building, and that's the most important thing. Anyway, under section chapter 10.21, it's going to tell me how many exits per floor I'm going to need. Now, on buildings that are already built, I'm not here to reinvent the wheel. We're just going to make sure the exits work. A lot of times, though, I will get a question from the DCAM project managers saying, we want to remove this exit because such and such, and then I refer to section 10.21 and say, look, with the occupant load, with the use group, and the building type, I would need to have this, this, and this in order to actually let you take an exit out. Okay, again, 780 CMR, which is the building code, section 10. 10 is means of egress. 10.09 and 10.22. Enclosed exit stairs and stair widths must remain clear and free of debris. One of my biggest violations is someone stores something in the stairwell or the enclosed stairwell. These are to remain clear at all times. They are usually protected. In case of a fire, you do not want to be tripping on anything. And the firefighters, when you're going out, they're going in. They don't want to trip on anything, and they don't want to have any combustible products in the stairwell. It's very important. And I've had people say, well, this is such and such. I don't care. I've done it in the court systems, everything. I don't care whose stuff it is. No one has the right to endanger anyone else's life. Give me a call if you have an issue in my district, or give your state building inspector if you're having a problem with anyone saying, I'm such and such and I could put my stuff here. They cannot do that. Very important. And yes, Gary Clark, thank you very much. Standpipe is the only equipment allowed. Well, there's other things allowed also in there as long as they're approved. We're going to get into, I'm hoping someday, we're not going to discuss it today, but I'm hoping someday to do a whole seminar on Chapter 10, which is the means of egress. And it's nice seeing you, Gary. I haven't saw you in a while. Okay, 780 CMR 1005. Egress widths, door, ramp, cornice shall not be encroached. In other words, if we have say the occupant load requires a 42-inch wide exit approach, and you have a soda machine in there, which I have seen. No, can't have it. There's also a lot of, under Section 105 and 521 CMR, which is the Architectural Access Board, or Massachusetts Architectural Access Board, mistakenly called the ADA law. A lot of times you'll see that you'll have a bubble or something sticking out. We need to put something in front of that so people with canes and having issues with walking and seeing and depth perception don't run into that. And that's another thing. We'll work on that case by case. Again, Chapter 10, means of egress. Okay, 780 CMR again. Chapter 10, 06, means of egress illumination. Illumination levels shall be 1-foot candle power or 11 luminaires or LUX at the walking surface. It's not as bright as you think it is, but I have been, many a times I've been to a corridor that has no lights, and I tell them we need to have that exit illuminated. I know this is illuminated in kind of a different way, but there's a backlight on the other side, so there's no issue with the illumination here. But we want to make sure they're illuminated properly, and that's one thing I look at. Again, when I'm doing the inspection, I always figure in the back of my head, the place is on fire, my hair's on fire, and there's 20 people in back of me. We can't choose our disasters. Okay, NFPA 110 and 111, emergency generators, standby generator systems must be inspected and provided testing. I'm going to do, with Tom's help and cooperation, I'm going to do a seminar on NFPA 110 and 111. There are, there's such a large amount of information there, but there's definitely a testing every 30 days and then every 6 months or annual, figuring out what class the generator would be. Class A, Class B, Class 1, Class 2, and what it's used for and what it's powered by. So there's a lot of information that I'd like to get into, but NFPA 110, I'm still going to always look for my emergency generator and standby generator systems. I'm looking for the testing from the company that does the work, and usually it's done either weekly, or the older ones are done by the month, and they're usually a printout. I look for that also. Okay, 780 CMR, Section 508, Table 508.2.5, boiler room and furnace enclosure separation and protections. What I found, the reason why I put this here, is I found that the biggest issue with penetrations under Chapter 7, which is all your penetrations, UL rated assemblies, Hilti rated assemblies, factory mutual rated assemblies, all of those assemblies are usually drilled through the walls that have to do with the boiler room or the mechanical room. I am going to be doing, again, we're planning on doing a lot of trainings. I will be doing one on Chapter 7, from starting from firewall and ending at smoke partitions and everything in between, and UL 80, which is it's the standard for your fire doors and rated doors. So whenever I go into a boiler room, I'm always looking, and you guys should do the same thing. When you have work done and you have conduit drilled through a wall and you know it's a 2-hour wall, 1-hour wall, half-hour separation, whatever, make sure that there's a UL-rated assembly number, and make sure that the assembly number is being put on, and make sure the rated assembly is actually being performed. A lot of times we don't require a permit for minor electrical work, so you're our eyes and ears out there. The problem is when I do an annual inspection, I'll see that, I'll write it up, and we'll need to get that taken care of. But all of this stuff is there for a reason. And I'll tell you, I did a hospital, and this right here was in the building part of it. There was a 2-hour wall, and there were 3 areas that had holes put in after the building was built. So we're redoing it. So I talked to the contractor and the design professional. He says, this right here is a 2-hour wall. I need to have a 2-hour detail, and I need to have a 2-hour, I need to have the assembly put in also. So, and I said, I need to see this before the wall is put in. I need to see all of this. So I go back about a week later, and I see this beautiful 150-foot wall, one of the nicest walls I ever saw, covering up all of those rated assemblies. So I remembered where they were because I took a picture. I looked at it. I said, well, about 15 feet and 4 feet up, I know there's one penetration. So let's open that up if that's okay. I'm not gonna get too upset. So I opened that up, and they didn't do what they put rock wool and a piece of drywall. It was not 2 hours. So I had them remove 150 feet of this beautiful wall. I had them put all the penetrations, and then I wrote up the company saying, you ever do this again, you won't be working for the state. And then I explained to them this. Look, I don't know if you noticed or not, it's not that far-fetched. I might be getting heart surgery or something like that in a room, all right? And we're relying, in a hospital, we're relying on a 2-hour separation. We have a fire in another part of the hospital. They don't want to be wheeling me out into the parking lot, looking at me, hey, what are you doing here? I'm here for heart surgery, we got fire drill. There's a reason for all this compartmentalization. You see the engineer, the design professional, all that. We have to maintain these. These separations. So keep your eyes open whenever you see any work done. Even if the building inspector, even if it's permitted work, if you don't mind, if you see something getting covered up, it doesn't look right. Don't be afraid to call your state building inspector or your supervisor and say, hey, this might not be how it's supposed to be, because it might be your life that it's going to save. Okay, 780 CMR. Again, remember I was talking about Chapter 7? Chapter 7 is always rated assemblies, rated penetrations, and all that. So CMR Section 713, and then what did we say about 10? 10 is always means of egress. So 7-13 and 10.22.4, penetrations, stairs, ceiling, floor, and walls. Make sure that they are a UL rated assembly. Even if we have some sort of hatch like this, which is a rated assembly going into a mechanical penthouse, it needs to be rated and it has to be put as the manufacturer tells you to. It says it has to be shut at all times, this, that, and the other thing. That's actually a rated assembly protecting this area from the penthouse, or vice versa. You never know where the fire is going to be. Again, Chapter 7. You remember Chapter 7 is always rated assemblies, and you can remember Chapter 10 as being means of egress. It'll help you out on your inspections. Okay, 780 CMR sections, Chapter 10 again, 10.03, 10.10-03.6, and then 10.28. Unobstructed means of egress components. Now, I got to tell, a good friend of mine, I won't mention his name, told me, you better not use that picture. I took this picture, and all it was garbage day, so it was no big deal. They were moving stuff, and I actually stopped them and pulled them out of the picture to show an obstruction. This right here is an obstruction. This right here, they were just walking down the hallway. Some people might recognize this hallway, so I don't want to let everybody think that this is how they do business. But anyway, we cannot have obstructed means of egress. Now, I'll tell you a story. We were doing a hospital in the central part of the state, and I was with the facilities director, and they had a bunch of beds all lined up. I said, I can't have these here. And every time I go over there, finally I just put my foot down. I said, get rid of these things right now. So I went to lunch. I said, I'll give you lunch. So the facilities director comes over. He's all confused. He says, hey, I'm not trying to be a jerk, and I'm having pushback from the hospital. He says, oh, really? He says, yeah, the hospital guy told me to tell you. I think he thought I was from the city, not the state, because that's why he talked to me this way. Not to me, but to the facilities director. He says, why don't I worry about running the building department, and he'll worry about running the hospital. I said, oh, okay, that's cool. I said, I got a little message for him. I said, he's absolutely right. I don't know that much about hospitals. He's absolutely right. One thing I know, though, if I don't sign the certificate, he doesn't have a hospital. And they seem to move that relatively quickly, so that's a good thing. Don't ever be afraid. Again, if someone's trying to, how I see this is a threat to a human, it's a threat to your life. It's a life safety issue. If you see someone putting stuff there all the time, they give you a hard time, put your foot down. That's all there is to it. And I'll tell you, if you're in my district, I'll back you up 100%. Call your state inspector. I know they'll do the same thing. Okay, 780 CMR, 10 again, means of egress. What are the three components that make up an exit? And I'll be impressed if you guys could get 1, 2, or 3. The three components that make up an exit. We need the Jeopardy music.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Oh, no. Marta, that's absolutely right. The first one, Marta put down exit discharge. Do we have another part? Someone listen to Marta. No, it's these right here are ancillary, but I'm talking about the major components. Sign, door, and push bar. Very good answers. Direction's a good answer also, but nope. We need 2 more. Door opening to the exit. There we go. Marta, excellent again. Exit. And then, nope, not the size. Good answer, though. Exit illumination is definitely, that's an accessory, but it's not a part. Three major components. And the hallway is close. Dinah. Okay, I'll give it to you. Marty got the last two. I'm sorry. The exit itself, and then the discharge. That's what Marty got. But how you remember it is the approach or the exit travel. Okay, so you have the exit approach. You have the exit itself, and then of course, as John's putting also, and Marta already got, was exit discharge, and that discharge has to bring you to a public way. So sometimes the discharge is the largest part, or the largest linear part of the exit. But the three components are the access or the approach, the exit itself, and then the discharge. Excellent. And when I do my inspection, again, I'm going through this. I have my hair on fire, and I have 20 people in back of me. It's very possible that might happen. We cannot, I was through the tornado and all that. I realized we cannot choose our disasters. Excellent job. Okay, NFPA, I'm sorry, 7A CMR, Section 906. Now, we're going to get into 9 now. Remember, we talked about Chapter 10. Chapter 10 is means of egress. Chapter 7 is all your penetrations and your rated assemblies and all that. Well, Chapter 9 is all of your fire protection, fire suppression. So anytime you see a Chapter 9, start thinking NFPA 13, NFPA 25, NFPA 10, NFPA 110, all that. Start thinking of that because that's under 906. Okay, so Section 780 CMR, Section 906, and NFPA 10, fire extinguishers exist and are maintained. Make sure the fire extinguishers exist and they're maintained. And I'll give you the quick rule of thumb with Chapter 10, with NFPA 10, is always remember that it's 75 foot to the fire extinguisher. But I did tell that to a designer once, and unfortunately, it was at a school, and he put them every 75 feet. So it looked like, I'd tell you, the fire extinguisher company must have been very happy. Probably got the salesman of the year, because you have to walk 75 feet. So in other words, they could be 150 feet away from each other and still be in compliance. Anyway, it's NFPA 10. We will be discussing NFPA 10. I'd like to do a whole class on all the NFPA standards someday. There's only a certain amount of time, though. Anyway, whenever you look at Chapter 9, always think of fire suppression, fire alarms, all that. And again, 780 CMR is always the building code. NFPA 25, standpipes must be maintenance every 5 years. When you look at NFPA 25, start thinking of anything that has to do with maintenance of any waterborne suppression system. Okay, standpipes, sprinklers, pumps, all of that is NFPA 25. Might be a good book for you guys to get. You can go online and go onto YouTube and all that, and type in NFPA 25 training, and it might help you out with a lot of your questions you might have. And again, my cell phone number is there all the time. If you ever have a question on NFPA 25, I'll be glad to talk to you. I can send you the schedules and all that.
Harold, can I ask one question? So
can you do it through the public chat?
I'm sorry, I can't. So I have a question on the fire extinguishers. There are different types of fire extinguishers. Do you look at the actual type to make sure that it's, like, for instance, you don't want to use a water fire extinguisher on electrical fire. So is that part of any of the regulations?
Yes, and I'm going to give you the keys to the city, keys to the kingdom. Okay. This is the easiest way to remember what a fire extinguisher is. If you see an A on it, you know it's good for anything that produces an ash. Say wood, paper, anything that can create an ash. A. Remember the A. You see a B. Anything that has bubbles. In other words, gasoline you're talking about liquids, anything that has bubbles, B. And whenever you see a C, anything that has current for electrical fires. A lot of the fire extinguishers you'll see are A, B, C. And you got it. The K is for the kitchen. That's it. How's that for an answer?
Excellent. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, 780 CMR, again, 9, we have seen a 9 in front of there. Anything that has to do with 9, it's fire suppression. Fire suppression, alarm systems, anything like that. Sections 901 through 903 and NFPA 25, because this right here is a waterborne accessory to the sprinkler system. Fire suppression systems exist and are maintained. Very important. We will be looking for a test on that yearly for your alarms, for your sprinkler systems and your pumps and everything. That's all part of the inspection. Should have that in the file. 780 CMR, again a 9. Remember, 9 is always it's fire suppression. It's alarms and all that. Okay, and NFPA 25 is anything that has to do with NFPA 25 is anything that has to do with waterborne suppression systems. This right here is a fire pump. It's an old one. This is up in STCC, and Tom is the one who gave this to me, Tom Therian, a while ago. We took a picture of this. Very neat system. I just thought it was so cool. It's not one of them with all the pretty cabinets and all that. This right here is just a raw system. It really shows a lot. OSY valves, everything there, very neat. Okay, 780 CMR, again, 9. You see, 9 is that fire suppression, alarm systems and all that, and NFPA 96, and I know I'm throwing a lot of NFPAs at you. NFPA 96 is the standard for kitchen hood fire protection systems, making sure they are clean and making sure that they're operational. Again, looking to 904. You should have, I do a lot of the prisons and stuff like that in the jails. We should have a sticker on there with the date, and it should say how many months the intervals are, or how many days, 120 days, 90 days, 180 days, 365 days. It matters on how much this is used, and then it's going to tell you the date and the year it was done, or there's another one they have that shows the date and the year it has to be inspected again. You have to read those kind of carefully. 780 CMR, 907 through 908. Again, we're looking at the 9s again. I know I'm repeating myself, but I figure you'll figure it out after a while that I'm trying to tell you how the building code's set up. 9 is all the suppression systems, all the alarm systems, and NFPA 72. NFPA 72, extremely informative standard. That is all of your alarm systems, your electrical alarm systems. All the 7s in NFPA have to do electrical. NFPA 70 is NEC, which is the National Electrical Code. Smoke, heat, horn, strobes, present, and maintained reportive testing is required. I'm going to ask you when I go in, whoever's had the joy of having me as their inspector, this is the first thing I ask. I say, I want to see your NFPA 72 and your NFPA 25 inspection forms. Again, 9. Just remember, Chapter 9 is the suppression and the alarm systems and all that. 780 CMR 916. This right here is the mass amendments and NFPA 720. Notice they just added a 0 to 72. This is still a detection system. This 720 is part of 72. It's referred on to 720, and that's carbon monoxide detection maintained. Whenever you have anyone who goes to sleep or lives there or any residential area or anything like that, we need to have carbon monoxide alarm systems. 780 CMR 7. What was the 7 again? Remember, it's all the rated assemblies. Remember all the rated assemblies. Okay, 780 CMR 716.2, 716.3, 716.4, and table 716321. Fire and smoke dampers must be maintained, accessible, and identified. One of the larger issues I have, and I put quite a few of these accessible panels in. You will be also working with the state sheet metal inspector for these. This is kind of a joint jurisdictional thing we do here. 780 CMR 9, again 9 detection systems. and NFPA 72, alarms. Manual pull stations must be present, maintained. Report of testing is required. Your alarm system inspector, our maintenance contractor should be giving you a report on all of this.
Can I ask another question?
Good.
So in some hospitals, they don't have the manual pull stations because they don't want patients pulling them. So sometimes they have a key system.
Okay.
So is there something you look for when they have something like that?
In 780 CMR 907 and NFPA 72, we do have exemptions for these. If they're here, that's why I say if they're present. They must be maintained and required tests. On some issues, some occupancies, and occupancy, again, that's why we need to know what the use group is, and that's what we need to know what the building type is. Some occupancies, I1, I2, A3, do have exemptions for having the manual pull station, because sometimes it's more of a hindrance than it is for a life safety piece of equipment.
Thank you.
No problem. 780 CMR, again, 10. What was 10 again? That's a question. What is 10 denoting? I said it 10, 20 times already. What is the 10? You can use your egress. That's all I see is egress. Excellent job. I know you guys are listening. Gals are listening. All right, 780 CMR, 1012 and 1013. Handrails, guards must be maintained. You know how many times I walk in a set of stairs and it's the first thing I do, I grab on? I know I'm a little pixie. I don't take a lot of weight, but I pull onto I'm pulling on them for a reason. I'm going up the staircases and through various places that have to be protected. I'm pushing on them and this, that, and the other thing. The reason being is I want to make sure those are not going to fall off or they're out of compliance. Excellent job with the egress. Thank you very much. I'm glad you guys are listening. 780 CMR again 10. Locks and locking systems, doors, gates, turnstiles, and revolving doors all have to be maintained. This right here is a very, very unique door, and this is at STCC campus. This is actually the museum ran by the National Park Service. And I'm sorry about the picture. It's sideways. That's the way it goes. 780 CMR 1. Again, we know what the 10 is. 10.08.1.10. Panic hardware, fire exit hardware, use group A and E. Now, when we get into NFPA 80, which we're going to be having a seminar on, you're going to find out that not all panic hardware is born equal. There's certain stuff for certain doors. Again, 780 CMR, section 10, again 10.08.1.9.11. Access door controls must be maintained. In other words, when I walk into a building, I press all sorts of buttons to make sure they work. I've had numerous people say, oh, you have to hit this way. I says, no, it has to work properly. And many a times I've pressed the access egress door, and it hasn't worked, and I didn't give them a certificate until it was working. Yeah, I know. This right here is I'll tell you what this is. This building is under the question was Tom Therian, who, all right, Tom, then you can go look at it. You're right down the street. Tom, you can go over and let him know that. And all I got to say is actually we talked to Harold, and he said we don't need one because it's a historically significant building, and the light, and you actually see a light up here, but the exit would be taking away from the historic value of the building, and that's under the, and it's very rare we ever grant this, and I'm just messing with you, Tom, but very rare we grant this, but under section chapter 11 of the International Existing Building Code, we do have different means for exit discharge in a historic building. So there are there's a couple exemptions here. It is what it is. Good job, Tom. Thanks for giving me a hard time. Okay, 780 CMR, section 1007.1 through 1007.11, and 521. You're going to know about 521. 521 is the Massachusetts Architectural Access Board, MAAB, often known as AAB. You'll hear me say AAB because it's obvious we are Massachusetts. And it's often confused with ADA, okay? You'll hear, well, that isn't ADA compliant. Well, I'm not really too concerned about ADA. I'm more concerned, which is pretty much a higher standard, except for there are a couple of exceptions. I'm always worried about Massachusetts Architectural Access Board because Section 143.3 of the Mass General Law gives us the authority to enforce 521 CMR, which is the Massachusetts Architectural Access Board. Accessible ingress and accessible means of egress. All right, and when I walk up to this, the very first thing I do, and people think I'm messing around, I hit this button. Then I wait for the door open, and I wait for a little while, and see how long it takes to shut, and I hit the button again, and I go in. And then I hit the button here. It'll probably open a secondary door. Then I go inside, and I hit the other one going out, and then out, and then out, making sure these work. This one right here works very well, but sometimes you see them on a pedestal on a cold winter day, they won't work. And whenever it doesn't work, I make sure that it works when I leave. 780 CMR, again, 10, Section 1028. Assembly, aisles, aisle width, and access width. Always make sure everything is clear. Make sure we don't have a podium sitting on the stairs and all that. Making sure all of our access lighting and all that, our egress lighting works and all that. There is a test that we do for the system when there's an issue. The performance usually shuts down, has to shut down, and the lights come back on. So that's in a large assembly hall. Lecture halls and stuff like that. Again, 780, remember the 10, 28. 780 CMR, 1001.3.3, mass amendments. Exterior stair fire escapes every 5 years. Fire escapes and egress balconies shall be examined and or tested and certified for structural adequacy and safety every 5 years by a Massachusetts registered design professional and professional engineer. You see the ... If you keep on reading, it'll say, they give you a couple exceptions of who could be looking at that, but I like seeing a Massachusetts registered engineer. The ... will say, pretty much a person who is competent in the building and the maintaining of fire egress, balconies, and fire escapes. I have not found that person yet. 780 CMR, Section 4. Now, 780 CMR, Chapter 4 is kind of an odd chapter. Chapter 4 is funky people doing funky things. That's the easiest way to put it. It's paint booths. It's aircraft towers. It's anything that wouldn't fit anywhere else. It's covered mall buildings, anchor stores, and all that. Anything. And it's stages and Piscurium curtains and all that. Anything they couldn't put anywhere else, they threw in Chapter 4. So Chapter 4.3.5, Piscurium curtains, stages, and platforms. The stage opening shall be provided with a fire curtain complying with NFPA 80. Now, whenever we talk about NFPA 80, just think of all of your rated doors, rated openings, and we're going to have a class on that. And this right here, NFPA 80, is hand in hand with Chapter 7, which is rated assemblies, and or approved water curtain complying with 780 CMR Section 9. Now, you're going to see 780 Section 9. The water curtain is actually part of the sprinkler system, which is going to bring you to Chapter 9, which is all your suppression and all that stuff. There will also be an alarm component there that will go to the rest of the suppression system and the alarm initiating devices. Evacuation route. This is one that's not in the building code, it's in the fire code. I personally, I make sure there's a fire. I don't care what anyone says. Evacuation route is going to be there. That's the one time I enforce the fire code. I have yet to have any fire official get upset with me about that. We have to have an emergency evacuation plan on every floor. ICC 300.-2007. I have no idea why it says purgatory there. It is what it is. This right here, believe it or not, is a standard for our bleachers. These bleachers are no longer there. They've been taken out. I do believe this is at STCC. Bleachers and indoor and outdoor ICC 300 2007 standards. I have not updated this. It's now, we have, as of last year, we went to the 2012. I just realized that. The 2012 standard for bleachers, folding, and telescoping seating, and grandstands. And section 105, it's a very small book. Section 105.1 says a yearly inspection is required by a competent person. Who is a competent person? Believe it or not, it's up to the authority having jurisdiction. If I talk to you and you don't even know what a set of bleachers are, you're not really a competent person. But if we have, someone who's been there forever, they know exactly how everything's done, they know how this works, they can, we look at it together, then you become a competent person. The people I deal with in the facilities, I consider competent people. Okay, what's the violation here? Now this parking lot's all redone and it's not the cracks. What's the violation here? These are all Massachusetts Architectural Access Board compliant handicap parking or accessible parking. What's the violation? I'll give you a little time. Andrew, absolutely right. Perfect. It's the sign height. You're right, and there should be a sign for every one. Now, with that, can anyone tell me what the height should be? Not enough signage. Excellent. That's good, Dana. Gary, Andrew. Eye level, very good. Yeah, except for there's no, not Tom. No, you're close. 48 is close also. It's supposed to be between 5 feet and 8 feet. Just so you know, 5 foot to 8 foot, and they have to be put in. Permanent. And a lot of people who plow the snow say, I don't care. It doesn't matter because when I leave, you just take these things and roll them around, and all of a sudden you have regular parking places. So that's Massachusetts Architectural Access Board, and it's 521 CMR, and they do have to be. And this is at STCC. They got a brand new parking lot, and these are all put in nice and neat. Great crew up there up at STC. I do a lot of work up there. Or used to. What's the violation here? This is actually at the Department of Public Safety, our new complex in Milford. It was new to us. There was a filing cabinet, if you could see all the way through, and it opened up and you saw this. It's not really it's more of a plumbing issue than a building issue, but we noticed it and I had to take a picture of it. This right here is a sewer line. This right here is duct tape. This right here is a can, top to like a Pringles can. So when we flush the toilet and say it didn't go down all the way, there's some sort of, I have a feeling the pressure's going to come here, and then through here, and it's going to fill the whole cabinet up. And I hate to be the person picking up the cabinet. Anyway, that has been repaired, but I just thought it was interesting that even in our buildings we find stuff, crazy stuff. So it is what it is. This is an actual office. I can't tell you where it is. It's no longer like this. This was incredible. This is an actual office. I was asked to look into this, and I definitely did. And the violation was the sprinkler system was not adequate for high pile storage. So I did talk to the person, the head of the facility, and told them that I was going to shut down the whole building. It got their attention. Again, if you see things that are a danger to other people, and this is sad, but this is a danger to every other person on that floor. It's an actual office. That's all there is to it. Excessive, yes. That's John. Hey, John St. Marie, how you been? I haven't saw you in a while. Excessive combustible, absolutely right. And yeah, definitely a fire hazard, 100%. Means of egress issue, all sorts of stuff. But it is what it is, So. What about abundantly stacked cardboard boxes, even if neatly done? Well, if we put them, believe it or not, if you put them in a metal filing cabinet, You could put a lot more in there, but still, if I go in, and I saw it, I go in there and just see a bunch of stuff. Look, the sprinklers are set up for B use, and that's why we need to know what the use is and what the use group is, and we need to know what the occupant load and all that, of course. But we also have to know what the building type is. We can't be storing. There's a place for that. It's under an S use. We have special sprinklers for that, but if we start over, and excellent, by the way, Diana Gonzalez, tripping hazard, definitely a tripping hazard. But anyway, if we start going over what the sprinklers can handle, then that's a violation, and we'd have to look and see how many boxes are there, whether they're against the wall and they're in center, or they, pretty much, if I see a bunch of crap in there, I say, you got to get this stuff out of here. That's all there is to it. I've said it many, many times. It's kind of use your own common sense, but if you have an issue, give me a call. If you're in my district, or give your state building inspector a call, and say, hey, I'm having a hard time with this group. They won't remove this. And to be honest, if you ask me not to say who it is, I'll just say I just came in here for a spot inspection, which I have the ability to do. We do have police powers. I just came in. I saw the issue, and you got to straighten it out. And in the end, everybody really wants to have the issue straightened out. I like that, by the way, tripping hazard, awesome. Diana Gonzalez, very good. Okay, what's the violation? Now you have to flip this over, and what could be the violation here? Perfect, yeah, open junction box, open electrical, open conduit. This right here this was part of a exit light, and obviously the battery is missing. The exit light is gone. That's a little button, believe me, I can press. This is actually part of a deconstruct. A lot of these pictures I've taken because we were working on stuff. I just thought they were really good for violations. But don't worry, I got plenty of violations too. But it was just, they were in the process of removing everything. But I wanted to take this out and show you I have seen this here and there. It's usually in a remote area you don't see. But you see that, either A, have one of your people fix it, or if the contractor says, hey, don't leave that like that, straighten it out. You guys run the joint too, don't forget. And that's all I got. You want to give me some questions on this? It would be great. And use your public chat to do so. I'd be glad to answer any questions you have. Yeah, we need that music. Dun, 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 dun. Thank you very much, Leigh Goldstein. Appreciate it. Thank you very much, Jeff. Thank you. The question is, do I have any upcoming classes? We're going to be working with Tom a little bit. I'm going to do a couple a year, 2 or 3 a year I'm going to try, maybe more. I have a lot of them, but a lot of them are actually geared toward the building officials, so I have to tweak them a little bit to reflect the facilities directors of the facilities because a lot of stuff is a little technical and I'm not saying it's too technical for you guys, but I would like to be able to explain it a little differently than I explain to the building officials. So I am working on quite a few, and I'll be more than happy to share them with you.
And let me just add, too, that we will distribute the information on training sessions through the MAFMA listserv. So if you're not on our group email, the MAFMA listserv, you want to get back to me on that, and I can add you to that very easily.
And Jade Wang was asking at the exit door with the sign on the glass, didn't need signage that was compliant with a door number and braille. I'm not sure what one you're speaking of, but if we have an accessible, not all exits are accessible. Accessible has to have braille on there, absolutely correct. And also exit sign, and this is, again, we don't want to reinvent the wheel. We have to have some sort of a trigger before we start doing this. A lot of people think you have to be compliant with Massachusetts Architectural Access Board immediately, but it's not true. what you need to do is be compliant when we have a trigger, and the trigger would start at $100,000 to 1/3 the canvas value, or 30% of the canvas value, and that would be all your bathrooms, your entrances, your bubblers and all that. And then after 30%, then the whole building has to be brought up. So there's always a trigger there, just so you know. All right. Is signage needed for building room occupants loads? We should have that. You'll have that on your inspection itself, the inspection sheet. In assembly and assembly uses, you have to have them, and 49 and above, you should have them. It matters. That's such a broad question. It matters what the use group and what we're using the area for. I hope that answers your question. Okay, we have a question for assembly rooms. How many seats or length can we have of seats before you need an egress aisle? And to be honest, I don't have that on my fingerprint. I'm not going to lie to you. There's 8,500 pages of code. I'd have to look that up. There's a chart there, and I have not memorized that, but I will look that up, and maybe I can get back to you if you don't mind. We'll see if we get the answer for you, just so you know. Who is in charge of developing the evacuation plan for every floor? That's going to be it's through the facilities, but it doesn't matter to me. I don't have that. I don't have the ability to assign anything. All I want to make sure is it's there. So I know if I was the one doing the inspection, I know who I can rely on, or who I know needs to do that. It might be a safety director. It might actually be just the facilities director, or whoever, but it needs to be done. In the building code, it doesn't tell you who it has to be. Okay, if that's it, well, I really appreciate everything, and I really like this format.
Yeah.
The first one was a little goofy because we had everybody calling in and stuff, and whoever dealt with that, I'm still getting ripped on that, but I really appreciate everything, and thank you very much, and don't be afraid to call me. And I'll send this back to Tom. Thank you again.
Great.
Awesome. Great.
If you think of other questions that come up, feel free to get them to me, and I'll forward them to Harold, and we'll try to get you an answer. Thanks again, everybody, for participating today. We had a great turnout, great questions and responses too. Appreciate the interactions that we were doing there. Just to get a couple of reminders. One, if you're not on our listserv, where we send out information on trainings, please get back to me, and we will. I can put you on the listserv very quickly, and then you'll get a direct email that tells you when the next trainings are coming, that you can register. The webinars seem to work very well, so we're going to continue those. And lastly, the next webinar is going to be part of our new technology training program, the certification program, and it will be on the 25th. And we're going to run it from 2 to 3, and then we're going to repeat it from 3 to 4. So if you have second shift people that would benefit from it, feel free to do it. And we will be recording that one also. This one almost didn't get it started in recording, so feel free. So forgive me, but we did get it in time, and so that once we get that, we will be posting this on the MAFMA website, and I haven't worked out the deal with Harold yet on how much money he gets per that. Usually it's a few pennies every time he gets a hit.
It adds up.
We'll have to see. Okay. So again, thank you, and we'll see you in the next webinar. Thanks again.
Great. Awesome. Good. Excellent.